a huge topic that is for city folk is not on our radar. We take the soil, we take the dirt for granted. As a matter of fact, we spend most of our lives trying to keep the dirt out of our lives. So how did this topic get on your radar?
We figure what could be harder than making movies about oil than making movies about soil. I honestly think every film we've made, which is over 20 films now, has led us to this. And, in the beginning, we were talking about climate and carbon emissions. And really what we were talking about was what's our pathway to stabilize the climate? That's always been our objective. And then we found out from a friend that there's something called drawdown, where you can take the carbon that we've emitted into the atmosphere and we can return it into the soil by increasing soil organic matter, topsoil. And in doing so, it takes all that carbon and it puts it into the ground. And then it has the added benefit of growing nutrient-dense food, putting more money into the farmer's pocketbook, and stabilizing the climate. And maybe everybody can't agree on climate change, but certainly everyone can agree on the weather. And so no matter who we talk to, whether they're a conservative farmer or a liberal city dweller, we find that everybody's noticing unusual things happening with our climate, especially farmers, especially the people who are out there growing our food. And the number one way that they can stabilize their ecosystems is through soil regeneration. And so when we learned about this win-win-win, and especially me coming from a legacy farming family in the Midwest, we knew that this is what we needed to devote our life to, and this is what we needed to use our craft and storytelling techniques to try to draw as much attention to this as humanly possible while we have this window of time to really shift the trajectory that we're on.
We've eliminated insecticides, pesticides, herbicides. We are saving upwards of $400 an acre. It works out to be about $2 million a year in savings. That is serious cash.
Well, we want to talk about how you work together to do this film, because there's a lot of material, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of going around the country and shooting things. Who does what and how does that work?
It's kind of like divide and conquer. We each have our own skill set. And we find a way through our partnership to really find balance and to be able to achieve much more, exponentially more than we could on our own. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, we both participate in all aspects of the film. Rebecca tends to figure out the sort of, magical narrative arc. Her background is in scripted films. She was, obviously the childhood star of Prancer. And RogerEbert.com says that's the best childhood performance, one of the best childhood performances ever captured on film.
The best, I think he said.
Oh, not to split hairs, but the best, sure. So she tends to come up with this sort of, magical, like in Common Ground, the narrators are writing a letter to their children. It's a love letter to our children. And Rebecca came up with that. And then I too tend to do more of the science background. Just divide and conquer. We also run a 5-acre ranch and film studio, so somebody's got to stay and maintain that when we're shooting. So, we split that up, but ultimately, we're both involved in the conception and production and post-production of the film. And, there's a huge amount of work that no one knows about to make a documentary, from legal clearances to licensing to paying all these people to fundraising to just, and we run distribution.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the characters in the film itself. Gabe and Rick, especially those two farmers. First of all, without giving anything away for anybody who hasn't seen the film, can I just ask how Gabe's doing?
Gabe, we won't give it away, but his health has been compromised from the years of conventional farming before he became regenerative. Gabe Brown has been an incredible leader. We call him a hero in the regenerative movement. He's somebody that saw that the system, the way that it was conventionally farming with chemicals and tillage, it was not only destroying the land, but it was destroying his health as well. And so he's been having some health challenges, to say the least. And at the Tribeca Film Festival, where we premiered Common Ground and where it won the Human Nature Award, he actually met Mark Hyman, who's also in the film, Dr. Mark Hyman. And he was able to get some really great health tips. And so his health has improved, but I don't want to say too much else about that. You have to watch Common Ground to get the whole story. But like many people who are conventional farmers, and like other stories that are also farmers in the film, and also my own family, my own farming family, when you're exposed on a daily basis to these neurotoxins, and it's a chronic exposure every single day. It has an effect on one's health. And so there are what's called the farmer diseases. That's things like Parkinson's disease, ALS, certain kinds of cancers like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so farmers really are paying the ultimate price for the way that we've been farming our food, that's desertifying the planet and making us sick. And really, farmers have a 5 times higher suicide rate in the US than any other profession. And it's time we change that.
Well, I mean, you say, or you have Rosario Dawson say, if the soil dies, we die. And that's very impactful. I don't think people really realize what's in the soil and what's in these pesticides. Now, I presume that you've reached out to Monsanto and the other chemical manufacturers about what they're doing. Have you got any response? What kind of responses are you getting?
Well, these companies are involved in a system where it's essentially a racket. We the taxpayers are subsidizing their bottom line through the Farm Bill. We pay farmers a subsidy to use these products, and they make a lot of money. So we're funneling tax dollars through farmers to these big companies. And weirdly enough, the losers in this game are the farmers and the eaters, us. The winners are these big companies. And it's weird, like a lot of these CEOs and sort of people in positions of power in these big companies, they eat organic. They don't feed the chemicals that they sell to their own families. And I think that says a lot about the duplicitous mentality of profiting from poison. Audiences across the country are interested, but audiences in the nation's capital are very interested, and they're interested in the specifics of how to change the system. Because when you lay it out and you go, well, does this make sense to pay farmers to go out of business, to use poisons that profit companies, many of which aren't even American companies? It's just crazy. That's a bad system for anybody, right? And when you lay it out like that, and you go, well, what about this other system? This other system, regenerative agriculture, the farmer uses way less of these products, maybe 50% less in the first year, and then tapers off. The farmer is healthy, their family's healthy, the soil is healthy, our food is healthy, our kids are healthy, the nation's healthy, and we put money back into rural America, which, by the way, if you look at the economy, we're in bad shape. Where does the money need to go? It needs to go into communities that have lost all of their wealth. Well, that system makes a lot of sense. How can we do that? We need to pay farmers to grow soil and grow healthy food, and that will feed communities, and that will feed America, and that will feed the world. And that's the message of the movie. It's, in addition to that, we can stabilize climate change. There's that little thing too.
And, according to Monsanto's own documents, they internally know not to come in contact with this stuff, to make sure to wear protective gear. And yet to the public, they say, no, it's totally safe. So some of the lawsuits that have happened recently where people have won giant sums of money because they got sick as a result of exposure revealed what the company internally is saying. But then if you speak to any PR press person, they'll tell you the complete opposite. And so that's really, and then they fund the science that proves that these things aren't bad for us, even though within their own documentation, they're saying, be careful, this could make you sick.
What can people do? The average person. to know about this.
I was hoping you'd ask that question.
I knew you were.
Thank you. So I've got 3 calls to action for folks. First is get on the Common Ground Film website, Common Ground Film Instagram, share that trailer with everybody you know. Let's get that trailer seen by 1 billion people, because the trailer tells the whole story. Of course we want you to see the film, but a lot of people are short on time. So 2.5 minutes. Okay, I get it.
commongroundfilm.org.
That's it.
Commongroundfilm.org.
Share that trailer, and the age-old adage, call your congressperson. That is absolutely true. Like, the Congress people are actually coming to the theater because people called them. That is cool. Democracy is actually working around this issue. So call your congressperson, call their staffers. I don't care if that person's 26 years old, 22 years old, and they pick up the phone. Tell them about Common Ground. Tell them about regenerative agriculture. We all need to support healthy food and a healthy climate.
All right. Well, we also, from this movie, we're going to wrap up, but of course, I've learned to love cow patties watching this movie. I've learned that we've done a great job as a human race, taking soil and turning it into dust. Now you're going to take the dust and turn it back into soil.
That's right.
So thank you very much for joining us, and much good luck
Thanks
to
for
you.
your time. Good to see you.
Likewise.
So
Thanks.
good to see you, Al and Linda. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. And to your listeners, thank you so much for participating in this conversation and also in the movement.